As always, welcome to all of you, and a thank you to the City of Wilder for allowing us to use the facility here. We appreciate that. And personal note, I want to thank all of you that sent cards of condolence and so on and so forth to me. I greatly appreciate all that. Richard is not here tonight. His grandmother is in the hospital, so we don't have minutes from last meeting, unless you have those. There was a time. So Glenn, move straight into a treasurer's report.
$228. Had 6 renewals, so the income was $72. We paid the insurance for the society, the copy release, paid for a plug-in on the website, and the second quarter sales tax. So our expenses were $1,969. Ending balance $8,330.95.
Jan, can we scoot into your stuff then?
Sure. Currently, we have 189 members paid up. 289, sorry, 289. We're almost to 300, so membership is only $12 a year. If you would like to join tonight and you're not already a member, you can pay Glenn. He has probably some membership applications there. You'll get our newsletter 3 times a year, and you get reminders for all of our informative and interesting monthly meetings. So, and you can come up to our office anytime. We have a lot of publications that we sell, and a really cool museum to look around in, and a research library. The September issue of the newsletter will be out hopefully by the end of August, so be expecting that. I had one call from Janet Ginter. Janet does our reminder calls for our meetings, and she has about 6 or 7 people who help her make the calls every month. One of the ladies who does the calls is going to be retiring from that position. So she was just wanting me to put out there, if anybody would like to be on the caller reminder committee, you call maybe 10 to 12 people every month and let them know when the meeting is, what time it is, what the topic for the evening is. It doesn't take a lot of time. A lot of times people are home and you just leave a message. So it doesn't take long at all. If anybody's interested in doing that, just let me know and I'll get your information.
Very good. Thank you. Charlene, you want to talk about essay contest?
The essay winners will be here next month. So I hope all you come and support them very well. We haven't started the next one yet. That'll happen more in October. But we had some really good winners this year. And more schools do. I don't have the list with me. What else would you like me to say?
Veteran files?
We got 7 veterans last month. I've been cleaning the cases and moving the furniture. And I missed you today because I was moving furniture without you. So outside of that, we just got a lot of little projects going. I don't have much else on the veterans.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Reminders, we're going to be at the Senior Citizens Picnic that comes up next month, September 27th from 11 to 3. If you've never been there, it's a treat. It's lots of fun, and you get lunch out of it, so good deal.
What's that date again?
The 27th, September 27th. Jan talked about somebody to volunteer to help on the phone calling committee. I'm looking also, when you manage a historical society, most of us, the public face that everybody sees is all the research that we do and the history that we learn about and we share with everybody. But there's a business side to running a historical side too. And you have to raise money to support all of those functions and everything. If anybody's interested, I'm looking for people that want to be involved on the business side of this. We're looking specifically for somebody that is computer savvy, that can be involved in doing our website and the Gen website that we do, databases and things like that. If somebody has any skills there and wants to help out, we appreciate that. And also on fundraising. If there's somebody, you know, fundraising is a totally different mentality than our people and doing the research that we do. And so when I talk to our board members, we got to try to raise money. They all go, oh, no, not me, you know. But there's people who love doing that, and we need some help doing that. So if anybody is good at that and wants to try it, let me know and be happy to get you started.
Excuse me, Steve.
Yes.
I forgot to say something about the essay contest.
Okay.
I'll tell you, your brain works. I want to thank everyone who has made commitment to donate money for the essay contest. That's a big help to us, and I want to remind those who have committed to that to make sure you make your financial donations by the end of the year. That would be very helpful. So, because we're not going to end this contest. You know, we're going to keep plugging away.
We actually raised the amount that we're,
Yes, we did.
that we're awarding. And so, you know, the more money we get in, the higher we can raise that and give it to the kids. So, yeah, anybody that can help with that would be great. I've had more than my share of death this year. Don't want to deal with it anymore, but it got me kind of started about death, and I was looking at my family tree, and I was looking at people that have died in the past, and I was thinking about some of the people like from the early 1900s and how different funerals were done then. So I was contacted the funeral home that I've been using, and I said, do you have anybody that can talk about changes in funeral practices over the years? And they said, that's Dennis. So I met Dennis, and I knew right then and there that Dennis was a good guy to talk about. So I put it out on social media, and all these people were saying, I know Dennis, he's a great guy. So tonight we have Dennis. He's going to talk about, it's not morbid, okay? We're just going to talk about changes in funeral practices over the years. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis Elix from Dobbling, Muhlenkamp, and Erschell Funeral Homes.
First of all, I have to thank Steve and all of you for coming out this evening. See a lot of familiar faces. Thank you all. And I'm just going to touch on several topics in the funeral service. If you have a question, please stop. Because at work, they tell me I talk too much. So, raise up your hand and ask me. But just a little background on myself. I'm from Springfield, Ohio. Graduated in '72. Went to Florida, Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie with a couple of buddies. They were going to play baseball for the college. I went down, I played a lot of golf, didn't know what I was going to do, took business. I started working for a funeral home in 1975 down there. I love people, so I said, maybe I want to do this. So came back and went to Cincinnati College Mortuary Science over in Cincinnati. At that time, there was only a handful of mortuary schools. Now, there's probably 75 of them in universities, the small colleges. I think Carol and myself came here in 1980 to Northern Kentucky, and I live in Highland Heights. Carol works for St. Elizabeth Hospital. My wife, 43 years in HR. So she's thinking about retirement. My friends ask me, when are you going to retire, Dennis? I'm 70. And I said, I'm going until I'm 80 or 90. I meet so many good people over the years, and I still enjoy it. And I don't think she wants me sitting at home yet. But Steve also brought up about the 1900s, the embalming. Back then, they would take their loved ones and maybe wrap them up and use the oils and spices to preserve them a little bit and then bury them. Embalming is not a law. A lot of people think it is a law. We embalm so we can have the visitation and the funeral service. That's why we do the embalming, so we can have the person in the church or the funeral homes. Visitations have really changed. I've been doing it, 48 years now. We used to have, remember the 3 to 9 visitations? You'd be there at the funeral home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That was a long day. Then we went to 4 to 9s, 4 to 8s. Nowadays, we're looking at maybe like 4 to 7s. Which is, and then also you're going to see in your obits, a lot of people will do it the same day service, 2 hours before the service. So we see a lot of that. Talking about different teams that might wash the loved ones or help us lay the person out. I can still think of the Latter-day Saints out on Buttermilk Pike. They have a team. Also, Weil Funeral Home over in Cincinnati. I went to school with Bob Weil, the Jewish funeral home. They're going to bury the loved ones by sundown tomorrow. So there are different teams out there still. Cemeteries in this area, we use Evergreen, St. Stephen's, we go to Ohio, Spring Grove. But any veterans, we have to bring this up. If you do not have cemetery property yet, we have to let you know about Williamstown, the National Cemetery. You are, eligible to be buried down there. Also, your spouse is eligible to be buried with you down there for $600, as long as she doesn't remarry. Also, down in Williamstown, they also have niches for cremation. I'll talk about cremation here in a second. But also cemeteries. I think we brought up about farms, private property. A lot of times we have to go through the judge executive. But also I'll go down by Natural Bridge, sometimes to a family cemetery. You need to have a fence around that cemetery. But a lot of pretty family cemeteries. Years ago, went out to Independence to a family cemetery, and it's still out there. It's very nice. Cemeteries cost, some of the cemeteries to buy a lot might be $1,500. Depends on the section of the cemetery, $1,500, $1,800. Then you have the opening and closing of that grave when the time comes. Evergreen is like $2,000. St. Stephen's is $1,300. So those are some of the prices. Also, St. Stephen's, on cremation here in a second, they built a cremation garden behind their chapel out there. Very, very nice. Cremation is here. It's here. It's been here the last several years. So I know in different churches, like our Catholic church, they accept cremation now. But they do want those ashes to be buried. Some families want to scatter the ashes or to buy the ashes. So some people do that. Benefits, remember the Social Security benefit of $255? That's been around 100 years, and it's still there. But 9 years ago, they changed that benefit of $255. It only goes to a spouse now. It used to come on down to the children. It used to come on down to the funeral, and then we take it off the statement. So $255 is still there. Veterans, you're entitled to a flag. Also, sometimes reimbursement, especially if you die in a VA facility, like the VA hospital. You're entitled to transportation, usually right around $1,100. Also, I had a loved one today, and he was a Navy veteran. So I always bring it up, and I usually get an Honor Guard 21 gun salute for him. Also, nowadays, 3 years ago, we can start calling the active duties. This gentleman was a Navy, so I had 3 Navy active duty personnel there. They played taps, fold the flag, present the flag to the family. So the more that I can do for a family, I think that's where it's rewarding for me. It's all about our service. And all of us have different pricing every funeral home. We believe we get pretty good service, but we're all different pricing. Some people on cremation nowadays is wanting direct cremation. That's our direct cost plus the crematory fee. then they might have a celebration of life memorial service after they get the ashes back. Some people also, though, we let them know, you can still have a visitation and a funeral service. Instead of going to the cemetery, we have cremation. So some people want that. I think it's important to have that closure, and the visitation is for the family. It's for your friends to come to say, hey, we're here if you need anything. But I think we all need that closure. And then we have a new program that I use, I love it, is pictures, memories. And I'll show you on this. This is like a little memorial folder. So after people sign the book, they can help themselves to a little memorial folder. I always ask my families nowadays to email me 10 or 15 pictures. I put them on our website, and you can see on our website I do the obituary and then maybe 12 pictures. Those pictures and collages and videos are all great memories, and it's those memories that help us get through this trying time, I believe. On caskets, we use Aurora and Matthews. They joined a few years ago. Batesville Casket Company is still over there. They're one of the largest in the United States, but we use Matthews. There's several around. There's Dakota down in Georgia. That's a wooden casket company. And then when we do use Matthews from Aurora, Indiana, we can get that casket the next day. We don't have to wait a couple of days or so. Also, touching on a couple of days, we've had families that are on vacations. Dennis, can we hold mom for a week or so? You know, Julie's down in Sarasota or over there. We can. And that's why we do the preparation work, the embalming. And then if we do have a cooling system, if we need to use that. But just a few weeks ago, I had to hold the loved one for about 10 days until everybody could get in from out of town and whatnot. Any questions yet? Yep. Is it claimed? Very good.
I didn't hear the question.
Please.
What was the question, please?
Oh, if we have someone that's unclaimed, and usually we'll go through the county, human resources, and try. They also cremate nowadays. They used to have a burial going through the county, and the county burial was up by Kroger's up in Highland Heights. Nowadays they're cremating the loved one, but we
So
do our
they're not
best.
burying anybody there anymore?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
No. I haven't seen it in this area, but I did read it in our funeral director's magazine. I have, and I think I saw it down in Georgia and also California. So
How does that work?
Did you hear it?
I'm not real sure.
A chemical. No, that's all right.
But
I was
also,
just curious.
in our area, we do have cremation society, and Radel Funeral Home is in charge of that. Also, when you get down to Florida on vacation or California, you'll see them advertise a lot in your newspapers. Cremation might be $3.99. Those are cremation societies where a lot of people will sign up to that society for $200 or whatever. So a lot of cremation costs in our area is maybe right around $2,500, $2,800. There are some funeral homes that are a little more reasonable, but that's the cost of that. And then also, go ahead.
I was going to ask about cremation when the person has metal from maybe replacements, knee replacements, shoulder replacements, and also things like pacemakers. I understand, and I don't know this for sure because I don't know how high the heat gets when you do cremate somebody, that a pacemaker can explode. So I guess the questions are, do they remove those items before you cremate them, or do you cremate the person with all those things in them? And if you do they melt? And if they don't melt, what do you do with those objects? Can the family get them back?
On the legs, arms, knees, the crematory, a lot of times will remove that before cremation. The pacemakers, we have to remove that. And we have to go over that with the paperwork with the family. So we have to do that.
And then what do you do with the things that you remove?
The pacemakers that we remove go into like a sharp container, and then we call the removal team to destroy those for us. We don't keep those around.
How about the titanium replacements? The knees, the hips?
Right. I think they turn all that in too. The crematories will take care of that. We do not.
You don't know what they do with them. Can you give them, do you know if they give them back to the family?
I don't think so.
What's the
What's that?
If a spouse passes away and say the spouse is still living, and then when he dies, can that cremains be buried with him in his casket? I have done that. I have done pets. Also, if cremation, you can bury one cremains on top of an existing grave, like grandma or grandpa. So you're allowed to do that. A lot of times you can purchase a urn that the cremains go in. And then sometimes we have that memorial service too, at a church or a funeral. Yes?
Okay, if you have a loved one, and I do know that caskets are fairly expensive, can they order one from Amazon and have it shipped there and you use it?
Very good question.
I know Amazon does it. You know, they have them.
So's Costco.
We're very, very lucky. We had a casket store out in Florence that only stayed open maybe a couple of years. So we're very lucky in this area. Not too long ago, about a year and a half ago, friends of mine up St. Catherine's called me up, and Dad had some questions. And then I had 4 children. Dad was in his late 80s. And the one son says, can we get his casket from Costco? And sure, we have to receive that, and we're not allowed to charge you anything for that receiving. And I told that son, I said, oh, we go to Costco all the time, and I love the cinnamon bread out there. But yeah, very good question, very good. And then the monks over around Batesville, some people will get that casket from the monks over there, so yes. We have to accept it, and can't charge for receiving or anything like that. Very good, very good. Luckily, I came over and joined Dobblings. I crossed that ocean, that Licking River, 35 years ago. Luckily, I've only seen a couple of them. I've seen Costco. I haven't seen Amazon yet, but we get maybe 2 or 3 a year from the casket stores. Vault, right, at the cemetery, that's a cemetery law, regulation. You need a vault or a concrete liner. Concrete liner is nothing more than a concrete box, but not sealed. The vaults are sealed to be airtight and watertight from the manufacturer. We use Baxter Burial Vault over in Cincinnati. Yes, cemeteries. If you go over to Linden Grove Cemetery, you'll see graves over there that are caved in, because they didn't use a box or a vault. So you'll see that over at Linden Grove. It's to protect the loved one and also protect the cemetery.
It's really neat.
Yes, yes. I don't suggest it. I like to remove the jewelry. That way there's no unanswered questions. Did they keep that jewelry on? Pass that jewelry on down to the grandkids. Those are good questions. Those are great. Like today, they buried Dad's rosary with him, and that's about all. But pass all that down here.
The pictures and things like that you can put in there?
Pictures, little notes from the grandkids. I love all that. Spring Grove Cemetery, they are.
What?
We have not gotten into that yet.
Oh, my father was
The
cremated.
Spring Grove has. Also with cremation, we have rental caskets, where you rent the casket, part of the service charge, the package. We have different packages for full service cremation, so that's available. Yes. Yes. So
What was her question? We couldn't hear it.
Oh, her question?
Yeah.
I was asking about biodegradable coffins, you know, that used
Like
to be
the
buried
green
in a
burials?
pine box, and, you know, now it's just, like, how does the earth kind of reclaim that, you know?
And Spring Grove does offer that over Spring Grove Cemetery. Yes?
Excuse me, explain a little bit more about a cemetery, a green burial.
Green burial, that was like on the line of Spring Grove Cemetery.
What's the process?
Process is biodegradable caskets that'll just disintegrate in the, where, without the burial vault, without the concrete liner.
But now, how do they do about, you know, the human waste and the pollution in the ground and stuff? That's part of the issue, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it.
But if an animal dies, you see them all the time along the highway. They just disintegrate. And that's biodegradable animals. That's what we are.
And that's one reason why we do the embalming process for visitations and services. If we didn't, you'd be seeing some decomposing loved ones, you know? And that's why if we have to keep a loved one, when they bring it up like a week or two, we usually don't do that. But we do use our cooling system once in a while, where we have to.
And we believe that there was a cemetery from the Boer House back in the 1850s that was there. And so the developer had to do his due diligence and have that investigated. So we were involved in doing that, and they hired local archaeologists to try to locate that. Well, in the 1850s, in the poorhouse, the person was probably just wrapped in a blanket, and then somebody probably went and stole the blanket that night because they needed it, and so they weren't really, you know, buried with anything. But the archaeologists, we were literally skimming the earth an inch at a time, looking for anything, and there was nothing there. We had so many people telling us exactly where the cemetery was, and there was not, to your point, there was nothing there. Everything had gone. So that's what happens with the green burials, I think, is everything, over time, everything just goes away. I think Spring Grove is doing the ones with, where you can do a tree as well, aren't they?
Correct.
Yeah.
Funeral expenses, at our funeral home, if there's insurance, we work with our families. We'll wait on the insurance. And sometimes our secretary, Jody Mouseheart, she'll do all the insurance work for the family. But sometimes that money's not coming through for 30, 35, 40 days. But we'll wait on that. Dobbling Funeral Home's been around since 1879. And then Muhlenkamp and Erschell, we joined up probably 20 years ago together. But if they don't, then we have, some people will use their credit cards nowadays. And Grandma just said, I only use my credit card because I get mileage. So I'm going to take my grandkids down to visit. So, and then if we have some families that need to switch funds around, we understand that. So we work with our families. We try to. Yes.
Does Muhlenkamp, Erschell, and Dobbling, do you not have a partnership also with the Alexander Funeral Home?
We do. Years ago, Art Dobbling, Grandpa Dobbling, Muhlenkamp and Erschell, they formed Alexandria Cemetery years ago. And then about 20 years ago, we came in town and joined everything together. Our main office is in Bellevue. Then we have 2 funeral homes in Fort Thomas. And we kept those names separate, Muhlenkamps and Dobblings. And then we have a funeral home in Newport. Yeah, very good.
What's the average cost of a funeral? I mean, just like coffin would be like $10,000 or?
And some of them will, some of them will, and it depends on what you select, what kind of service you want. You know, we have economical packages, but some funerals will, but when you're saying 10,000 or 13,000, we include everything in our statement. I want to talk to you about the clergy honorarium, which is usually $150, the Inquirer, the Kentucky Inquirer, they have certain days they're going to run it nowadays. That can run right around $250. Death certificates in Kentucky, they run $6 a piece. These are certified copies that you need for transfer of property, banks, insurance.
Credit cards.
If you die in Ohio, certified copies are $27 a piece. So make sure you stay on this side of the ocean. We add all that for flowers. We try to take care of everything. The opening and closing. Some of the opening and closing for the cemeteries are $1,300, $2,000. So we try to put all that together for the family. But yeah, it can come down to $7,500, $8,000, whatever you want, select. We have different stages of caskets. Also, we have different stages of urns for cremation. We talked about Amazon a minute ago. Amazon, you can get just about anything out of Amazon anymore. And with cremation here, some of our families are getting their urns from Amazon. So Amazon's here to stay too. Yes.
What I found was very helpful, my loved one passed away, but she pre-planned her funeral, picked out the places she wanted, said who she wanted to, and she gave me a prepayment. We still had to add to it because it had been several years, but it took a huge amount of stress off of me. When I went to go and get everything, it's like, this is what she wanted. So that's a wonderful thing to think about.
Pre-arrangements. And I see a lot of pre-arrangements anymore. With dad passing away, mom doesn't want the kids to go through what she just had to go through. So we do a lot of pre-arrangements. And when someone prepays that, we have to put your money into a trust account down in Frankfort, Kentucky. We're not allowed to touch your money until the time comes. On our side of the statement, we have to guarantee what they selected. Now that price might go up in a few years, so we take that in, but that your money's growing interest also. Cash advances on the right side of the statement, we have no control over. That's third party. That's your death certificates, that's your Inquirer, that's your cemetery. And some of those might go up. Any more though, I'm seeing a lot of people are getting refunds back from the trust. So the trust is doing pretty good for us right now. There's been different vehicles out there. There's been different insurance companies with pre-arrangements that didn't grow the interest like we wanted. But pre-arrangements, people are thinking about it.
Yeah, the pre-arrangement, she put down $4,000, and over the course of, I think, the 18 years, it grew up to 6.
Yeah. But she can pick out what she wants. A lot of times though, she'll come in and want the same service as Joe. So the kids don't have to go through all that. So, also, we see a lot of pre-arrangements that the loved one is in the nursing home. You've got to use some of that money up before the state takes it. So that's good. That's good. Yes?
If you have a gravesite, how many cremations can you bury on one gravesite?
Only one cremains on one existing grave.
Okay.
Now, if you bought a couple graves, you can bury two in one and keep that for your son or daughter. But only one cremains on an existing grave. Yeah. Now, the opening close.
No, it's empty. It's an empty spot.
Correct.
She just has the lot. You just have the lot. A lot.
Right.
And you can only bury one.
You can bury two.
Oh,
If both of you are going to get cremated, you can bury two cremains in your lot.
okay, okay.
And keep that other grave for your son or daughter to go to. Or some people might use both graves and then buy a marker, say like from Tim Roth down in Newport. Tim's 4th generation. I think he treats our families fair, so, for markers.
How much is a plot?
A plot at cemeteries can go for like $1,500, $1,800. Then the opening and closing might be $1,300. At St. Stephen's, that's for a casket grave. Opening and closing for cremations might be $850. So it comes down a little bit for cremains. Yes?
How much would you say it would cost? I had a friend whose husband died in Florida and they had to embalm him, put him in a casket and fly him up here. What's the average cost of that?
Very good. First of all, if you're out of town or in Florida, California, call your local funeral director. We have a nationwide shipping service that we contact. Their home office is in Cleveland. But we can contact them. Then they have agents. They have other funeral homes in that part. Say if the person died down in Destin, Florida, they're going to have an agent down in that area. They're going to make that removal. They're going to do the embalming. They're going to arrange for the flight into Greater Cincinnati. You do not have to buy a casket from that funeral home though. Try not to get two funeral homes involved where you're going to have two different costs. Call your local funeral director and then hopefully he can help you.
The local here, you mean?
Yep. If you're from here, call Dobbling's,
Yeah.
and it can be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we get that ball rolling. Yes. And now, when we're receiving a loved one from Florida or out of town, California, whatever, it takes a few days to get that loved one in with paperwork, permits. So that loved one isn't going to come in the next day. It takes 2 or 3 days for that funeral home to arrange. That funeral home down in Florida will also do our death certificate. So that's good. Please.
Yeah, I have a friend who lives in Campbell.
On your death certificate, when we go over with a family, we need the person's social security number. We need the person's parents' names. Also the mother's maiden name. This is all for the death certificate. And then anymore, I see where a lot of families, and you can go on our website, but some of our families want to write their own tribute. I call the obit a tribute. And a lot of times they want to sit down and write the obit for dad. And that's nice. And on one hand, they're going to have all the survivors' names correct, you know, and instead of me hearing different vowels or whatever. So that's good.
My obituary for my father in the newspaper a couple years ago, they spelled my name wrong. I put that newspaper and threw it across the room as hard as I could. It was devastating.
Was that the funeral director that did that or the newspaper?
Well, the first time they forgot my name and then they reprinted it and they spelled my name.
Yeah, we apologize for that. Yes?
Dennis, could you talk about the nurses ceremony and some of the other ceremonies that you can have?
I love that.
Yeah.
The
Because we have
nurses,
nurses in here.
the nurses service, and I love calling people, I'm all about that. That's good for the family and all. But if we have a nurse retired and loved one, we can call the nursing honor guard, and they can come. They have a short little service, 10 or 15 minutes, a candle, flowers, but I like all that. Services we also have is the Elks. The Elks will come in and do a nice service. The Masons, the Knights of Columbus. Eagles. Yeah, and that's up to us. And I guess I'm old enough, I've been doing it long enough, I like all that. Those are good memories for the family.
Absolutely.
And it's up to us to bring all that up to you. If we don't bring it up, you don't know anything about it. So, that's good. I like that.
That's right.
Yes?
One thing is, my sister was a nurse, and they were going to do the nurses thing, but between the time she went into the hospice to Thanksgiving and then back into Christmas, somehow they didn't quite get around to it. And of course, in the last stage, my sister wasn't aware. Would they normally have been doing it while she's still cognizant? No. Or wait till?
They do it when we have the visitation.
Right.
when the person's laid out. Yeah.
By the way, as far as the cemetery plots and all that,
Yes.
my things are, my great-grandparents are right at the entrance to St. Stephen's Cemetery, and I'm planning on having my remains put on top and right in front of my immediate great-grandparents, just as I had my parents put on top of his parents right in the middle of St. Stephen's Cemetery. And I'll be able to have a little, apparently like a 10 by 20 inch stone, that's all you can have.
Right.
But I have to have the diocese turn a form into the diocese saying that basically no other
Survivors.
relative is closer, because my great-grandmother, she's the one that bought the plots. So it's paid for, and as a next of kin, as long as nobody else in the, any closer, which I think they've all died off by now.
And usually doing the paperwork for something like that with the diocese, it's very simple. We can get the okay back in a day or so usually.
It's a simple one-page form.
Correct. Yep.
Like,
Yep.
well,
And like he was just talking, if he is buried on a grave like that, you're allowed just a small little grave marker out in front of, if they have a large monument, you're allowed a small one. Also, the veterans, if you already have your large monument there, there's a little plaque like I'm getting for this family, Mr. Lancaster, that can go on the back of that marker. It's a little bronze plaque. So those are nice. Talking about hospice, we needed hospice 40 years ago. I think they do a great job. And when the loved one time comes, hospice will call us 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we make the removal, bring the loved one back. If it is during the night anymore, we call the family in the morning, like at 8:30 or 9, set up a time to come to the funeral home, see whether or not it's going to be cremation, or we have to get permission to do the preparation work, the embalming. So we find out from them whether or not it's going to be a visitation or a funeral or just direct cremation. Yes.
More and more people pass away. We don't get notification in the Inquirer about it.
Yes, very good. A lot of obits aren't going in the obit. It's up to us to bring up the cost. And some of that cost, to put it in the Kentucky Inquirer, is right around $250. That's an average. Some people don't want to pay that anymore. And if you go over to Ohio, well, I think we need the obit in Ohio for Dad. That goes up to about $1,100. So people are getting away from spending that. Part of our service is it's going to be automatically on our website. So I see a lot of people going to that computer nowadays and searching it where they can go to our website. They don't want to pay that money anymore. Plus, the Inquirer has certain hours that are strange to us anymore. But to get an obit on Wednesday morning, we have to have it in by Monday at 5. It used to be just the day before, like at 2 o'clock. Also, to get an obit in the paper for Sunday, that's like on Thursday, and sometimes we don't have all the information that we need. Yes?
Where does legacy come in? Seems like everyone's not posted on legacy anymore, and then ultimately find a grave.
Very
When
good.
you go to research.
Yeah. You see, and you can always Google legacy, and they get their obits from the funeral homes or from the paper. That's where legacy's coming in.
So the family doesn't contact them directly. They're getting it from others.
Yeah, they're getting it from other people. Yep. Just like, remember how we used to put the obits in the Campbell County Court Recorder or Maysville? They're getting a lot of those obits from the Inquirer. Yes?
I guess take this with a grain of salt, but to each their own. But what's the strangest ceremony you've had to, or not had to, but you've kind of witnessed? Where, I mean, obviously, what's strange to one person is not strange to another.
Correct.
But then there's like, wow, everybody. Like, can we have a giraffe come in, or can we have an Elvis impersonator?
I haven't seen that. But I've seen where they gonna put down their dog for 13 or 14 years, the same time that mom dies, so we have the dog, I've seen that in mom's casket. Not everybody will have a minister at their funeral, so we're seeing that more and more nowadays. Not everybody goes to church, so we're seeing lay people, we're seeing different speakers. I'm strangest for me in 48 years is maybe pets.
So really not that strange, you're saying?
Not for me, not yet.
Okay.
I'm not done yet. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of crematories will cremate pets. They have a pets crematory. And Lindman Funeral Home out in Erlanger, they do a lot of pets. You'd be surprised. Pets is on the rise.
Pets cremated that was in coffins. It was a pet.
Yes, yeah. The dog was cremated and then placed in like a little urn, and then I placed that urn. No, I didn't place the dog. But yeah. The ashes.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was told that if you get your pet cremated, you're not necessarily getting that particular pet back, because they put drugs in with that and all kinds of things.
I hope not, because I hear that from our families when we take
I heard from
our
police.
loved ones over to our crematory that we use in Cincinnati. Spring Grove has one, there's 5 of them over in Cincinnati. So we put our trust in that crematory, and I hope we're getting the ashes back of mom. I've heard that several times, I hope not. Yes.
You were saying that your funeral home has existed since the 19th century. Was that funeral home then responsible for having viewings in people's homes? That was really common in the 19th and the century, and do people still actually request that now?
They don't request a lot of visitations or funerals in homes anymore, but since I've been in Northern Kentucky since 1980, I had 2 out in Taylor Mill, and then I had 1 probably out in Carthage. So, but they don't request that anymore. It wasn't that bad. We had to take maybe a couple doors off to get the loved one into their house, but it worked out fine. We took some equipment that we needed, the register stand, stuff like that, but we don't see that hardly anymore. Also, I hear this all the time. If we have Dad's funeral at the church up the street, is that cheaper than having it at your funeral home? No, it's not, because we want to be there with you. So we're going to be bringing everything to you. But some people think, well, we don't want to pay your services. So I do see that a lot. But we did, since I've been around, we had about 3. It worked out fine. No problem.
But that was the norm.
Thank you.
Oh, back then.
In the early 1900s, that was the norm.
Yeah.
To have your loved one in the living room. It was hard.
And the 3 that I did since 1980, since I've been around, we had the visitation in the homes, then we took the loved one to a church. So the service wasn't in the house, just a visitation. And it worked out fine. Yes?
In my family, up in Bellevue, Fairfield, in 1968, there was a service of laid out, grading it and everything, right there in the front corridor.
Yeah.
They took them right out that door, you know where.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was 1968.
We didn't hear that.
1968. Yeah.
What is she
So
talking
going
about?
back to the home burials, is that where the terminology, I use this all the time, I don't call it a visitation, I call it a layout?
Layout, I hear
Is
layout.
that where that came from, the home, because you would sit there for like 3 days watching and waiting?
Very good. Now, the ones I had in the residence weren't 3 days, but the Jewish people, they sit maybe for 3 days, and they call that Shiva, sitting Shiva, the Shiva stools. I think the Latter-day Saints I've dealt with, they have a couple, here's, down in Louisville, 2 hours south of us, still Louisville will have a couple-day visitations, still. 2 hours north of us in Columbus, Ohio, they'll have full couch caskets still. So around here, you're used to a half couch casket. You're only seeing half of the loved one. But up in Ohio, the whole person's laid out. So that's 2 hours north, 2 hours south. Yeah. Yes.
Socks and bare feet.
Please?
Socks and bare feet, what's it?
Yes. I say bring in Dad's suit, and not everybody needs a suit. I put my father in a golf shirt and a sweater, okay? Casual. But I do say, you know, the undergarments, t-shirt, the underwear, socks. Shoes or slippers are optional. I put slippers on my mom because her feet was always cold. So it's a peace of mind.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So you're not going to see them, but I think it's peace of mind for us.
I was just going to refer to that gentleman's issue about find a grave. It's up to the family to put that in. It's not up to the cemetery or anybody else. You can put in pictures, you can put in a bio or everything and find a grave. You do it yourself. I did it for my family.
Okay. And if we help you find a grave of your family, we're not going to charge you searching for that. But yeah, you can Google all that anymore with that computer.
I've been seeing references to apparently people that go around the cemeteries and they'll record the information and then their little like byline shows up, a picture of that headstone and the whatever information they've got submitted by a particular person with a his real name or his go by name or something. I haven't quite figured out how all that works. They do it just for their, like how many ball games they've been to. Well, this is how many graves they've identified and listed. So that makes it easier.
I don't know, but they don't need permission to do that.
Yeah, I didn't think.
I mean, I can go to the cemetery and see John Smith and know John Smith, and I can go enter it all in, and the family doesn't have to say it's okay or anything. And I think that's wrong. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I think it's nice that it's there for people who want to put it there, but just for anybody to put it there, I don't think that's right without permission.
I think find the grave has changed now.
Yes.
I had to contact the person that was listed on my family. I contacted them by email and said, I am the daughter of, or the niece of, these are my relatives. And then I got one back, yes, go ahead. So maybe it's every situation is probably different.
And sometimes you have to get that notarized when you got it back. So we have 2 notaries in our office. We do that a lot. Yes?
I'm curious, I think you mentioned something earlier, but my husband and I, he had a student who lived on a farm, and I think it was his grandfather. His father, when his father died, they just dug a hole and threw him in. Can you do that?
On your own cemetery property, you can. It's
I mean,
gotta
do you have to have a death certificate or anything?
Well, we do the death certificates for you. So on that death certificate, it's going to be Kelly, cemetery, family cemetery.
I don't think they did any of that.
They didn't do none of that?
Put it in the ground.
Huh.
Yeah.
It has to be reported. Death has to be reported.
It has to be reported.
Well, I would think they'd come back and say you killed him,
Hopefully we don't see that all the time.
But we've identified, 100 plus cemeteries in Campbell County?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have listings on most of them. Some of them are just small family cemeteries with, half a dozen people there, or maybe 1 or 2. And then, of course, you have Evergreen and Alexandria and St. Stephen's and the big ones.
Well, and we put the information on each cemetery that we have. We've put the burials that we're aware of.
Correct.
And we've not gone back and asked everybody's permission to do that.
I'm not talking about a list, I'm talking about putting pictures and putting stuff like that on Find a Grave.
Yeah.
I just think that's a little bit intrusive, because some people don't want that on the internet. They they don't want it. And everybody,
Usually all that's out there is a tombstone, unless you're doing family research.
well, I have seen the gravestone. I have seen pictures of them, I've seen pictures of the family, I've seen their beds, I've seen family
Yeah.
tree.
But not anybody can do it anymore, they changed it.
Have they changed
There
that?
used to be anybody to do it, but now you have to be allowed.
Tell me, what kind of relative, next to kin or anybody? I can't hear you.
My brother put them out there all the time.
He said he's not sure.
My daughter does it all the time. She does research.
Does she do it for your family or does she do it for strangers?
They just pick a cemetery and just go down the roads. Yeah.
I did a whole cemetery, a small cemetery in Boone County, rural Boone County, because my great-great-grandfather is buried there. So I took a picture of each stone. Now, it had already been recorded by someone on paper, so I used that and I went to each stone and confirmed it. And I put the pictures of the tombstones up, and that whole cemetery is now out there. I didn't put anything, no, I didn't put death certificates
That's what I'm talking
or
about. You know what
anything
I'm
like
saying?
that.
Yeah, Dan says they've changed that. So I think you can put a tombstone out there, because, I mean, it's public space.
I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
I object to the personal information put on there by a stranger without permission. I just
I
mean,
don't know, that's,
It's
I don't
public
like it.
information.
Huh?
It's public information.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you really have to dig for, you wouldn't know. And it's not on, not on Facebook or not on Family Search or not on this or not on that.
And they had to find it.
That has nothing to do with the undertakers.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not saying it is.
Just for that person that was just buried with nothing, I think it's very important to have that death certificate.
Well, I did
So-
too.
So I don't think they went to a funeral home, got it registered in the state, county.
Dennis, did you talk about this scam recently that's happening around town? Demanding money.
That was just in the paper.
Yeah.
Talking about the scam, where people are calling up families and saying, your bill has not been paid for, trying to get money from you. Whatever you do, always go back to your funeral director, your funeral home. There's scams out there on everything. But lately, just a couple of days ago, they're trying to call up families and they're reading the obits. So they're calling up loved ones and saying, hey, you still owe $4,000, trying to get money from you. So tell them to go through the funeral home.
just a couple of notices. Next month, our meeting is here, and we have our essay contest winners coming. I think they're planning some really nice things for that. We're trying to elevate the importance of that essay contest. So look forward to seeing everybody then. October, we have the Northern Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame that's going to be here. Okay, and they're going to talk about all sorts of sports people from here. November is open right now, but I've got a couple of possibilities for that. And then December, we're back here for our holiday social. So hope to see you next month for our essay contest winners. Anybody else have anything that we'll finish for this evening? Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate you coming out.